Cuban Missile Crisis. Cuban Missile Crisis, October 1962, major confrontation that brought the United States and the Soviet Union close to war over the presence of Soviet nuclear-armed missiles in Cuba. Cuban Missile Crisis. Having promised in May 1960 to defend Cuba with Soviet arms, the Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev assumed that the United States would take no steps to prevent the installation of Soviet medium and intermediate-range ballistic missiles in Cuba. Such missiles could hit much of the eastern United States within a few minutes if launched from Cuba. The United States learned in July 1962 that the Soviet Union. By August 29, new military construction and the presence of Soviet technicians had been reported by U-2 spy planes flying over the island, and on October 14 the presence of a ballistic missile on a launching site was reported. Place Cuba under a naval quarantine or blockade to stop further Soviet missile supplies. On October 22, Kennedy declared a quarantine and issued a warning that American soldiers would confiscate any offensive weapons and associated equipment that Soviet warships could attempt to transport to Cuba. In the days that followed, Soviet ships headed for Cuba changed their course to avoid the quarantined area. In the midst of intense stress on both sides, communications were exchanged between Kennedy and Khrushchev as the two superpowers teetered on the verge of nuclear conflict. The Cuban Missile Crisis marked the climax of an acutely antagonistic period in U.S. It is generally believed that the Soviets' humiliation in Cuba played an important part in Khrushchev's fall from power in October 1964 and in the Soviet Union's determination to achieve, at the least, a nuclear parity with the United States. An unguided military missile, as well as any launch vehicle used to sound the upper atmosphere or place a satellite in space, is usually referred to as a rocket. A propeller-driven underwater missile is called a torpedo, and a guided missile powered along a low level. Although missiles can be propelled by either liquid-fueled or solid-fueled rocket engines, solid fuel is preferred for military uses because it is less likely to explode and can be kept ready loaded for quick launch. Strategic missiles, weapons designed to strike targets far beyond the battle area, are either of the cruise or ballistic type. In addition, guided missiles contain control systems to adjust their flight paths. A more complicated system, used especially in ballistic missiles. The guidance system is the most important and sophisticated part of the missile. For example, heat-seeking missiles